Hello, my beautiful people. I will be talking about Dogen Zenji. So, he was a spiritual master, an enlightened master, and he basically talks about this beautiful statement which I just took a note. And he says, the path to enlightenment is in enlightenment itself. It's not a means to an end in itself. So, he says, learn just how to sit, just for the sake of it. Leave the body and just be leave your body and mind inactive to reach your full potential from time to time. So Dogen Zenji says, sitting and doing nothing. You just sit. You just sit there and do nothing at all. That means also not to have any sort of a mind chatter. That also means that you stop talking to the voices inside your head. How do you do that? By just observation. So you just watch all of the thoughts that comes in your head, mostly limiting beliefs, mostly things that what others are going to think about you, mostly things about how incapable you are, mostly things like you don't know. And this is the basic fact because there are a ton of things what we say we don't know. And then to be able to find the courage is what we are talking about change, right? So you think that you are here right now and you want to make a change, but you know for sure that you do not have that much of skill right now, and you feel that, oh, in order to go from X to Y, now I need to make about so much changes in my life, I need to prepare so much, and which is pretty much overwhelming, right? Because to be always in a state of a fake positivity mode, which everybody talks about affirmation and things, that's not really true. Because if that was so easy and so straightforward, probably everybody would have everything that they wanted. So coming back to the point, to what Dogen Zenji says, so he says that you just sit and do nothing. And even Sadhguru talks about this thing, like before you truly make a plan in order to achieve something, or if you're matured enough and you ask this question to yourself, what do you want to do in your life? So definitely the first thing is that comes from just a state of being. So you sit and do nothing. You just sit and observe. That is the first step. And then the next thing is, from that silence, you get some answers. Probably, if you are just open enough, you might know already what you have to do, but you are scared to take that leap because you see there is not much money in that, and society doesn't approve of that, and you feel that probably you might just end up with nothing. So that's basically all. The biggest fear is the fear of death. So the fact of leaving things aside and about the fear of loss is actually a thing uh, of losing yourself, the fear of death. But now the thing is, who's that I which is afraid of death? Who's that I which is scared of losing things? Who's that I which is scared of not finding approval from anybody else? Because chances are you will not find any approval in the way the society operates now. Chances are that to get two people on the same page and have one opinion is absolutely impossible. It's just not going to happen. So where is the security? There is no security. And the better you are more face to face with this thing, this is just the best way to live. Because living is dying. Even in our in breath and out breath, as all of the masters say, there is the breathing in is your life, and the breathing out is death. So to expect a life which is absolutely rosy without the other aspect of it is just daydreaming. And just though they say that if you are having some affirmations and you have a hope of faith, but hope is false, because hope clearly means that you are trying to deny the now, and you are trying to say that no, this is not what I feel. So you go against your own present state of now, your own reality. You cannot deny the reality, you just have what is right now. And if you want to change that, there is no way, because truly this is very funny because that's what Alan Watts also says. The reason that you want to change your now state into something more fancy is the reason you won't have that, because the one you are trying to one up your own self. So you say, I do not like this about myself, I want to change that. But the one which is trying to improve their own self is the reason why you are there in a non improved state in the first place. So, for instance, if I say I want to wake up early because I'm a late riser and I don't want to sleep that long. So, these both are actually aspects of me, wherein one side of me is which says I'm sleeping for too long, but then the other side of me says probably if I wake up early, that would be nice. So every person has this two contradiction going on at the same time, you know. So what is the main point here is, again, so the question of duality, because there are all these states of two, can be answered through one. So from one point of view, you see that one is absolute opposite of the other. So for example, day is so opposite to night. But in reality, how is day actually turning to night is is every single second. So it's not an on and off state, right? It's not an on and off state that at this point in time I just flip the switch on and it's day to night. It's happening every single second, every fragment of a second. So there is only this one big now in which everything happens. So the only reason, again, it's about unconscious to conscious phase change that happens. So we are trying to see that if you are unconscious and you want to make yourself conscious from that unconscious state, the answer is, first of all, there is no answer. All you can do, you really cannot change yourself. And all these ideas of big gurus and self-help talks and all that bullshit that's going on is only for the fact that they want to make it an industry. Everybody knows that. Every person knows that thing. So the only fact that you can do is really do nothing and just observe yourself. Now the challenge lies in the fact, can you really do that? And as I did this experiment with myself, I could see that the main reason that you do not want to accept yourself as you are because you think you have an inflated self of ego and you think you are way smarter than actually you are. But when I come down to reality and I see, oh, this is not true. So you might think you can run 5 kilometers in a very short span of time. But really, when you go just for a walk and you figure out that reality is so different than, than what you imagine. So I think this is the problem with everybody, because humans are not perfect. Nobody is perfect, but we do have our illusions of the self that states that I can be that. Well, you're not that. You can imagine yourself to be so and so, but in reality you are not that. So why do I talk about this is because before you truly walk the path, like for example, while you are cooking something and you have let's say you're making tea and you have your items. So this is a very clear instruction for the mind. You want to make tea, so you just know what all steps to do, and you go on doing that, and then after 5 minutes your tea is ready. So for some step which is very clear, your mind knows what to do. But for a step which is not so clear, like what do you want to do really, because your mind has assumption that you can do 10 things and that you are equally skillful to do all of those 10 at one time. But in reality, you just step down and you slow it down and see that, well, for real, you can just do one thing. And that multi-layered working of a mind, which is of highly intelligent intellectuals, like pretty much, very much genius yogis can do that, monks can do that. But for a normal person, you and I, who has very low states of consciousness, it's very difficult. So what we start with is what we have now. And that does mean that being so honest with yourself, you will fall flat on your face when you see that you're not who you think you are. You might think you are a world-class champion in boxing, but truly when you go and practice, and you might find your body getting tired. So that's your point of observation. From there on, you again observe yourself and you see that, okay, I'm not who I think myself to be. So you observe that, and then you take home an exercise that probably, okay, first I need to do my strength building. So I need to do these many push ups, or I can go for a run, or do some skipping, or do some cycling, or whatever you want to do. So you first of all need to break it down. Now, the challenge is that the ego wants everything in now. You want to do everything now, and you want to achieve every single thing right now. It's not going to happen. You do not also want to see that doing something big or massive, something which will outlast your life, might take you 10, 20 years of work. It might take you 40 years of work. It might take your whole life. And what if your work is still not done? But no, we are short sighted people. We just look at others and we want silly, stupid, meaningless pursuits. Just, and the reason? Because you are told so by the society. Because you know deep inside that you lack the courage, you lack the faith, you lack to see within your own self who you are. And then it's easy to blame onto others that they didn't do this for me. No, I was confused because somebody else told me such and such thing. I'm confused because, no, you're lying. The truth is, you don't know. And you just need to come face to face with your own self and say, well, I don't know. As I do these experiments, I feel, uh, of course, it's very unpleasant to see who you truly are, because there's a lot of work to be done on your own self. And like Gurdjieff said, a great Armenian philosopher, he says the great work that a man can do. When he says man, it contains all the genders. I'm just saying. So the great work that will truly make sense to you is something that you do for your soul. And in order to do that, first of all, you must be quiet. So coming back to the state of being zero, so that is the step one. You just keep quiet and you just listen. You listen to your own self. So like the stream of thoughts that keeps going on, you just need to be the observer and watch. So like Dogen says, sitting and doing nothing, that is your practice. Just sit straight with spine erect. That is the main practice. And from there on, you develop a more mindful mind, the Buddha state of mind. So this is very nice notes. Basically, I took from a video that I was watching on Dogen, and he says, we must walk in the spirit of devotion, because you are not the doer. It is done by three modes of material nature: work and devotion. So don't engage in material activity and be attached. Do it, but with a renounced state. So that means you do the work, same thing as Lord Krishna has said in Gita, that you do the work, but you're not so much interested in the fruits of action. So you work with all of you, like 100% of you into the task that you're doing. What that means is you're completely burning everything that's inside of you. You are not keeping anything inside and trying to hide it. So that means being fully and 100% involved in whatever you do. And you would notice that, like, let's say, even if you're doing an office work, some task that your manager gave you, even in that, when you are deeply involved, and you will see that there is a sense of lightness because there's no I anymore left. So you have basically consumed everything inside of you, and you are putting. So that's the sacrifice. That's the work that you do. Or let's say if you are doing painting, and you completely forget yourself, because there is no I that says I. It's I who's painting. Just the painting happens. Your fingers hold the paintbrush and the strokes happen. And what you do is you just watch. You just see what art comes out. As I sing as well, I've seen that. Like, when I come out of my own way, then you are more mindful and you can hit very high notes easily, because I'm not forcing that thing to be perfect because I've let gone of my own self. So when you do that, there's no doing. There's no you who says I'm doing that. There's a disappearance of I. So there's just lightness in the body. There's a lightness in your heart. There's a lightness in your state of being. So yeah, so the core thing that I would want to put out as a takeaway would be just sitting and doing nothing. That's what the master says. 10 minutes of practice, sitting and doing nothing. And sometimes if you are more evolved person and you are more conscious and you don't you are more evolved basically through your practices, well then just even while doing your day-to-day work, if you can just be aware that your eye is not there, that means you are just observing. Even while washing dishes, you're just observing the movement of your hands through the dishes, or even while just doing any sort of work, while walking, while doing grocery shopping, whatever. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.